Hello everyone, I'm Sahil and in our judgment, I am back with another Manchester United related video. So Manchester United, as the fans would be knowing, अभी काफ़ी ज़्यादा चर्चा में है with respect to a player known as Manuel Ugarte. So there is a lot of rumor mill going around that United would be in for signing him potentially as a replacement for the aging Casemiro, या फिर maybe to complement or play along with him in a double pivot kind of a situation. So आज let's just try and explore whether Ugarte would be a good fit for United in our current playing philosophy, whatever that is. And let's try to then give our verdict कि हमारे हिसाब से क्या इन हमारी जजमेंट में क्या वो एक्चुअली वर्थ है साइन करने के लिए नहीं, बिकॉज उगारते प्राइजिंग उगारते अवे फ्रॉम PSG इज ऑल्सो गोइंग टू इन्वॉल्व एक काफ़ी बड़ी ट्रांसफर फी विच विल नॉट बी दैट ईजी. सो वील हैव टू सी कि क्या ये प्लेयर हमारे लिए वर्थ है. इज ही एक्चुअली गोइंग टू ऐड वैल्यू और इज इट बेटर टू लेट्स से कैरी ऑन विद कैसेमीरो in our team as the sole OG holding midfielder? So let's dive into it. So based on transfermarket.com, let's take a look at Ugarte ka profile. So he plays for Uruguay. His main position is that of a defensive midfielder, but also he is capable of playing in the central midfield. Currently plays for PSG. The key thing here is PSG. This might actually involve a swap with Jadon Sancho going the other way and Ugarte coming in. But looking at United's past history, it won't even be, let's say, a straight swap. Some money is going to exchange hands, and most probably knowing United, even though Sancho is actually a big player, I am still quite skeptical that United might end up still paying Sancho and some money. So that is something we'll have to see. But let's hope that United are able to conduct their business smoothly, looking at the new team which has been assembled. His market value presently is mentioned as 360 crores, effectively equivalent to in the region of 40 million euros. And with United being involved, that effectively attracts certain premium. So let's say we won't, at least PSG would be expecting somewhere in the vicinity of, let's say, 60 million for him. And maybe we might be able to crack a deal at around 50 million mark. So let's see what our final verdict is, and then assuming that 50 million is where we might get this player for, would it even make sense? Would he even offer that big of an advantage to us or not? This is how the United's I believe that if everyone is fit, this is the best playing 11 for United in my opinion. So Casemiro is the player in question. If the rumors are to be believed, then Ugarte should be coming in to replace Casemiro. This is how the team would be. Like, it would be more of a like for like swap, to be honest. But now what we have to understand is Casemiro is a proven player. Ugarte is still up and coming. He's still quite young. So there we have to understand that Ugarte would definitely have some scope for improvement, but at the same time we then have to understand that he might not give us the same qualities which Casemiro was given. That reading of the game which comes with maturity and experience would definitely won't be there in Ugarte right now. So we do have to curb our expectations with respect to the player in question. So what we'll try to do in this video would be try to benchmark Ugarte's performances against some of the most prominent midfielders, box to box or defensive midfielders who are there in the world at the top teams right now. So we should first start by taking a look at the defensive actions as a parameter and see how does Ugarte rank. So the players which we are trying to evaluate Ugarte against would be Goretzka, Declan Rice, Moses Caicedo, Tonali and Freddy Valverde. So in terms of defensive actions, we can see that he is quite high. If we are looking at successful defensive actions per 90 minutes, then he tops this list, which is quite evident. If we are to take a small peek into some of his highlights or his good performances, we'll see that when he's facing the opponent, so like let's say trying to help the team in a counter pressing scenario where the oppositions are coming to attack, So Ugarte is quite instrumental in such situations. He's quite aggressive and strong in his challenges. Like he goes in full throttle, no holding back kind of a scenario, which definitely has its downsides also. But at least from what we have seen in the past season and in this season as well, looking at how Eric Ten Hag has decided to play, his concept has been of emptying out the midfield to push for the ball, not hold back or save space to prevent attacks from going in behind, but go for the ball, go for the kill. So in that respect, Ugarte could be a good choice. Second parameter we would be taking a look at would be short passes. So Ugarte does top the charts in terms of short passes compared to the other five players. But one thing we have to understand is what this does not effectively show you is a parameter of backward passes. So if we take a look at the forward passes per 90 minutes, you'll see that Ugarte actually ranks the lowest. So this is a good enough measure to understand that a lot of his passing, even though it's accurate, and the numbers are quite large compared to the others, it most of the passes are actually towards the goalkeeper or towards his own defenders. So he's actually taking the safer pass. So there you cannot expect him to make or put in line breaking passes which are cutting across opponent lines and then starting off attacks. So most probably based on the parameters which we have for now looked at, he looks more like suited towards playing a role of a destroyer, not a deep lying playmaker who can stitch passes and start attacks. But that being said, he's still young, and with a coach like Eric Ten Hag, who has a proven record of coaching young players and making them good and improving them, there is a higher plausibility that he might come good, he might pick those skills up and might even progress into a more Casemiro type role. Effectively, to be very honest, these two are the only parameters where I feel that he is good compared to the others. Because if we start thinking about now the more aggressive aspects of the game, let's say where you're trying to attack the opponents, I don't think Ugarte really makes the cut. So the first one we can take a look at is the dribbles. So even though his dribbles per 90 is the most out of all these players, and we can see that his success rate is actually pretty decent. However, if we take a look at the progressive runs, then he is the lowest among all of these. So again, it's tying back to the previous one, wherein the passes are also towards his own players, taking the safer route out. And say in the same way, when he's dribbling, he's more or less moving towards his own goal and not attacking the opponent. In terms of aerial ability, this is where we might stand to lose the most if he ends up replacing Casemiro altogether. So you can see that his aerial ability, he ranks almost second from last. He goes for the headers in the same way he goes for the tackles wholeheartedly, but it's like a toss of a coin. He wins some, he loses some, but you don't get a feeling that when he's attacking the ball, he would actually come out on top. So it's like he either has to learn or hone this skill, but as of now, aerial ability is somewhere where he lacks massively. Now, if you were to take a look at Casemiro's aerial stats from last season, even though last season was not one of his good seasons, we can still see that he ranks in the 90th percentile, above the 90th percentile of percentage of aerial duels won. Now compare that with Ugarte's last season stats. So he is below the 50 percentile mark. So and considering that United plays in the English Premier League, where Casemiro managed to register these amazing stats, and Ugarte plays in the French league, so where at least the aerial dueling is not as competitive as the English league. So that is a pretty big gap. And understanding that in England, a lot of the game, as Guardiola also rightly learned the hard way around, is all about second balls, wherein let's say two players go in for the header and then you try to win the header and again get the ball back in control of your own team. So we would stand to lose this ability if there was a outright swap. In terms of his passing, there is a long passing, particularly there is nothing to take much from. Even though Ugarte is good at pinging the balls, pinging those diagonals, however, the accuracy of those passes is pretty iffy. In terms of crosses, Ugarte has not been that prolific. It ranks pretty low, and he has to improve those. Now, these crosses are not just with respect to, let's say, crossing from the wing, but as a defensive midfielder, he can very well find himself in situations, let's say, towards the halfway line on the left side or on the right side. So that ability to put a cross in for a center forward is something which Ugarte needs to hone, which currently is lacking massively. Now, if you were to take a look at Fulham, the match against Fulham, uh, these passes, these forward passes were the ones where Casemiro was spraying the ball amazingly. Now, this is something which comes as a surprise to for United followers like us who haven't been that used to watching Casemiro day in and day out during his prime with Real Madrid, and also because Real Madrid had Cruz and Modric like wizards who used to do all this spraying and the passing aspects of it. But ever since Casemiro came into United, he has been pivotal in trying to put the ball, putting amazing diagonals across for Rashford, for Garnacho, and even quickly taking the ball, let's say, ahead of the halfway line and putting in lofted balls for strikers to run onto. So this is these are like some key actions which we might end up missing out on. Key passes. So key passes basically we are trying to refer to, let's say, it's not an assist but something which can either lead to an assist or lead to some key action happening. So this again is where Ugarte is pretty woeful, and it's all subject to hoping that he learns and inculcates whatever Eric Ten Hag is telling him to and tries to improve these skills, because just being an out and out disruptor of the game would not be enough at a club like United. In terms of goals, it's negligible. Like his shots are not that accurate. He like mostly skies them, so the technique is wrong. But this again can be worked on. We're not expecting him to score 10 goals, but at least minimum you would like for a Manchester United midfielder would be to the ability to maybe, let's say, hit the ball from outside the box, hit the target from outside the box. That is something which we at least need. If he hits the target, there is a possibility of something good coming out of it, or at least troubling the goal. Considering what all we discussed, mostly it's the cons that weigh out the defensive pros which he has. And at bigger clubs, a player cannot just defend; he also needs to contribute to attacks. Considering the price tag which PSG asked would be stamping up on him, and thinking that okay, if he comes in, Casemiro might have to make way. I don't feel that's a good enough trade-off, because we might be Casemiro's legs might be aging. They're pretty evident with respect to a lot of lunging tackles he makes because he's not able to cover up the ground. But the other aspects, the positive or the forward-looking aspects which he brings to United, we might end up losing all those. And with Ugarte's eagerness to actually go in for crunching tackles, there would currently a non-existing midfield would become even more non-existent. I don't know what it would become, but yeah, that would be a state of it. So our central defenders would again become increasingly exposed, and we might have another viewing of last season's performances. So I would say that we should maybe keep Casemiro for this one more season and try to look for some other alternatives, some other solutions to these problems. For someone who's a little more rounded, who can add what Casemiro has added and with more legs and energy. So I hope you like this analysis, and if you have any suggestions or feedbacks for us, please do let us know in the comments. Please do subscribe. Thank you.